I have the power to make myself slightly larger so that I am more.
We have just watched The Scorpion King for the 49th time, which is an exceedingly close number to 52 when you think about it. Wait, is this? Yes, it is the 49th time.
Yes,
Yes.
it's 49.
Uh, you made us do something today, Oscar, which
Yes. I did a horrible thing or well, it was a bit interesting in a way, but it was pretty. You're not allowed to make faces at me. You
was it
must.
though?
It started out a bit interesting, and then it became not that interesting anymore.
Okay.
What we have done is that on somewhat of a whim, I decided that we should watch the movie with a fan-made commentary track, or well, fan-made. I mean, it's by some random YouTubers who I have no idea, already forgotten what the name of their channel is, uh, because I googled just Scorpion King commentary track, and we took like the first or one of the first results that appeared.
I want to reiterate here that we didn't do anything.
No, I did,
You did this.
but I did this because otherwise there would be nothing to do on this watch. This would have been a normal watch otherwise. And that would have been vastly preferable, but here we are. So we watched a commentary track by
We watched the movie and we played their commentary track because we have just watched the movie as well.
feel
We
like
haven't just listened to the commentary track.
I feel like I'm listening to a semantics commentary track right now.
I want to make it. I want to state for the record that we have not gone a week without watching the movie The Scorpion King.
That well stated. That has
Yes.
not happened. So yeah, and well, I don't know how did you feel about the commentary track? Just your immediate spontaneous reflection on it.
Well, I was about to say that I want to kill myself,
Mm.
but that's not true. I want those people to. Maybe you could do with losing a limb. I'll
Some
go with the.
some moderate to extensive self harm.
Doesn't even have to be self harm.
Mm.
I'm endorsing all trauma.
Yes. Well, as for me, I can only agree. It was, or rather, my feelings on that is that these two people should never, they should never, record anything
Yeah, they
again.
should never do this again, which is funny
Yes.
because they've definitely continued.
Yes, they have a lot of commentary tracks on their channel. If this is an indication, they have probably not learned, I guess,
No.
from our retroactive commentary upon their work.
I'll say this on a sort of. I'll give you a timeline of the hellscape you created.
Mm-hmm.
It started out because we can get into this in a bit, but an interesting notion of this was that we would listen to people talk about this movie, which is sort of technically them being in a position we are in all the time. But they are doing it from our perspective completely. They don't have the rights to do that. They can't really talk about the movie yet because they haven't paid their dues. Which is sort of interesting because you end up in a lot of situations where we're sort of semi-defending the movie because these people were bad people. But whatever. That was sort of the beginning of my timeline. I'm thinking this might be interesting. It's probably going to be bad, and it was bad. and a lot of that was informed by the first 4 minutes in which they talked before doing the commentary. And then I think it plummeted very quickly when they I don't know. You have a very extensive document written down, but
It's not extensive. I
I'm
feel like
gonna.
you are bullying me.
Is it a page?
No, it is 6 lines.
Okay. Well, okay. You have 6 lines written down. I have nothing,
Mm.
which makes me the superior person. Uh, but I'll say they weren't very funny. They constantly mistook actors for other people in a
Yes.
very fucking weird way, which I'm
Yes.
sure you'll get into in a bit. And they were sort of weirdly misogynist and sort of vaguely alt right, I'll say.
Yeah.
Also, they really like Dwayne, which is probably
Yeah.
the worst thing possible.
Yeah. Like unironic fans of Dwayne, and not like you know the way some people might be. Oh, no, like people who don't think about Dwayne at all, who would be like, oh, no, like Dwayne Johnson is okay, I guess. I don't really know, like that sort of thing. They like these people worship Dwayne
Yes.
in a really weird and creepy way. Uh, I'll just since you mentioned it, one of the earliest things that really set me off in in this was how it started out pretty mellow, just like wow, these guys aren't very funny. It's like wow, it's kind of cringe, but that's what we're here for. And but the second that Michael Clarke Duncan appeared on screen, one of the guys immediately goes, and both these guys are super British. And I almost said nothing against British people, but I probably do have something against British people,
Yeah,
especially
I'll
after this.
I'll I'll paint the viewer a picture or mind picture.
Mm,
So imagine two people speaking into microphones with extremely poor audio quality and lots of static, and they are British in the bad way.
mm. They're the bad British,
Yeah.
like not like you know, your one or two British online friends that you kind of you speak kind of funny when you played World of Warcraft in
These are
2005.
not the Brits you're looking for.
Exactly, these are the Brits you are not looking for. So that's how it is. But either way, once Michael Clarke Duncan appeared on screen, one of them immediately like says, "Oh, isn't this the? Is he's the one from Stargate, isn't it? Yeah, he had that thing on his forehead in Stargate." And it's like, "Oh yeah, it is him." Oh, and it's like I'm not sure what to say. It is amazing to me that someone could mistake Christopher Judge for Michael Clarke Duncan from 2002.
Yeah.
It's
The
and
really funny part about it, I think, because obviously I think they look pretty different, and
mm,
Michael Clarke Duncan is super famous, super duper
yes,
famous, right? But the funniest part to me is that Michael Clarke Duncan isn't even fucking bald in this movie. Like
no,
I think that's sort of the defining characteristic of Teal'c, except for the gold shit, I guess.
yeah. Another thing, I'm not gonna go through like everything. I thought about this, but another early on thing that was pretty funny was how they kept saying Arcadian
Yes.
all the time. And I mean, in a way, I guess it's fine. It's like whatever you heard it wrong or whatever. But they say they say Arcadian so many times during the movie, and they say, "Oh, it's Arcadian. I thought Arcadia was this country." It's like, "Oh yeah, and also and how they. When we first watched the movie
Mm.
in the ancient age, or sorry, I said the guys in the prologue, I immediately dubbed them like the not Vikings. I call them because they are obviously not Vikings, but we
Yes,
had to call them
Viking with the
something.
W,
Yeah, exactly.
not Vikings.
Yeah, because it's ridiculous, or I mean, you can't call them Vikings because there were no Vikings in 7000 BC, and so on. So and especially not in like wherever this movie takes place. And the first thing, one of the guy or both of them goes, "Oh, there must be Vikings in it. Yeah, the Vikings, right? Yeah, you have to be." And it's like, why? Why? Because there's snow. It's like it's so stupid. It's like the no concept at all of like when the movie takes place and
Yeah,
that
I
sort of
think
thing.
it's, to me, I don't know if this is sort of, I don't really have the like good European cultural know-how to understand how this would actually play out, but I understand how I, me, the Swedish person,
Mm,
would possibly look at a white, sort of blonde-ish person in a, I'm not going to say a prehistoric age because it's definitely a historic age, but a sort of a pre-medieval time,
mm,
and I'll and go like, oh, maybe that's a Viking, you know. But I live in Scandinavia,
yes,
like
same.
that's Vikings are culturally sort of everywhere.
Mm,
Not that much, I guess, but you get my point. But like Brits, they have like the Anglo Saxons. They have the Saxons. You have the you're way closer to stuff like Gauls,
yeah,
Gauls as a concept, and their Germanic tribes. Right? To me, you would be way closer conceptually to that. But maybe I'm just thinking about things like a person that thinks, and instead I should just go, "Oh, Vikings was a TV series."
yeah. The I'm not gonna get into Vikings, the TV series. I hate I hate everything that has Vikings in the title or in the subject matter. uh, what else? Ah, yes. I have to mention this as well. When it comes to mistaking actors,
Mistaken identities, yes.
yes, mistaken identities. We were once we have realized how these two people ticked. We were waiting to see if they were going to recognize Bernard Hill once
Yes.
he appears. And because I never said this during the watch, but I was gonna say something like when they commented on some CGI stuff or whatever, like all the CGI is so bad, and I was gonna say something like, do you think these guys have watched Lord of the Rings or
Mm,
whatever? Because they said oh, all the CGI looked terrible back when this movie came. Every single movie had terrible CGI,
yeah.
and like
It's funny
but
you mentioned that because I made a sort of funny jib at their timeline as well. Because in
mm,
the start of the movie, they talk about how they're, oh, this is just sort of. They constantly call this movie like a super cheesy,
yeah,
over the top, it's so bad it's good movie, which 100% isn't true.
no,
Uh, but they also say, oh, it's from 2001, like there weren't, it's a bad era for
yeah,
movies. And I was like, oh, there were no good movies then.
not a
That was
single one.
sort of hinting at a
Not
specific.
not like today when the good movies are all over. Only good movies today.
Yeah, we don't
Uh,
know if they like new movies though.
no,
So let's not.
either way, once Bernard Hill appears, I'm just waiting for them to say like oh hey isn't this Theoden from Lord of the Rings? What they immediately say, and I burst out laughing at this. They oh it's Sir Davos from Game of Thrones in it. Oh yeah, it is him. Oh but he looks young or what they say he looks old. He looked older in Scorpion King,
Yeah,
and it's like you get at this point is I was gonna because before I was giving like oh wow that what a racist thing to mistake Michael
yeah,
for Duncan,
exactly.
but now that no they are just like stupid or
Yeah,
whatever like
you
they
can't
do
see
not
differences in faces.
yeah
They just can't.
so that was something
Yeah,
uh
I had a because I've watched. I haven't seen all of Game of Thrones, but I've watched some of it.
mm,
Uh, and I Sir Davos is the Onion Knight. Is that?
Yes, the Onion
Yes.
Knight.
Yeah. And I sort of that dawned on me quite late because I thought they were talking about Sir Barristan. Is that his name? Ian
Yeah,
Ian McElhenney or something. What's his name?
I don't know what his name is.
I think he's an Ian, another one of those British Ians. So I was like, wait, they think Bernard Hill looks older than that guy now? Anyway, that's
That was the end of that dialogue.
yes.
Um, Another thing. Now I'm just not gonna.
Are you
Okay, this is the last thing. The last
is
thing that I know that I'm gonna bring up is the fact that once when they are in the cave and Thorak and this man are chasing Dwayne into the cave and all that, we kind of like we were predicting, are they going to comment on the shadow scene,
yeah
the shadow slaying Dwayne scene, and you know before as the soldiers are being picked off in the cave by Dwayne, they say shit like that. Oh, this guy's got strangled. That guy's been strangled. Oh, strangled. Ah, he's dead. Like that kind of thing. And then when Dwayne's paranormal shadow kills a guy in the wrong direction, like all that non-Euclidean warfare going on. What they don't say a word, like they
no
completely like glazed over the entire thing, like that was completely fine. God, it is awful.
yeah. I'll say I think the most unlikable aspect of the pair is the fact that they constantly
Yeah.
and this is sort of reminiscent of Dwayne's own, both
Yeah,
Dwayne's and Chuck
I was
Russell's
going to say
commentary.
that they you can talk.
They just constantly talk about how hot the sorceress is and how much they want to have sex with her, but
Yeah, well, every time a woman is on the screen,
yes, actually, yeah,
it's not
sure,
just
but
not
it's
just the
mostly
sorceress.
the sorceress,
Yeah.
because she's has the most screen time. Uh, well, there's this sort of weird thing where they're talking about how good she looks. They keep saying she's naked all the time when she's obviously not naked. Even in scenes where she's, I would argue, pretty unnaked, because I wouldn't argue that she's scantily clad a lot in the movie. But even when she's not, they say she's naked. And that's sort of coupled with this sort of weird negging where they're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe she's so well kept."
Yeah.
Come on, she's been in the come on, she's been in the goddamn sandstorm. Why she got nothing in her hair? They got her hair straightened out in that sandstorm.
Yeah, it was a lot of really like weird incel energy,
Yeah.
energy, as you say,
Yes.
about everything. Weird incel energy about everything. Uh, that I feel like that was kind of like somewhat tangibly related to that. How they just kept going on about that kind of thing was also. I mentioned a bit like how they commented on the CGI, and we mentioned how like every single CGI thing in the movie was the worst CGI ever. This is wow. This is really up to my expectations of how bad this is, and it was so clear. And this is not defending the Scorpion King or whatever. But it was abundantly clear that, especially from the beginning of the movie, where they were talking about, oh, is this is this the one with where he turns into a scorpion? Oh no, that's the mummy in it, like all that, basic Scorpion King watcher
Yeah.
stuff that we are way beyond.
Yeah.
Uh,
Scorpion King iceberg. Maybe we should
exactly.
do one of
Oh,
those.
don't say things like that. It's too late to start
Yeah.
thinking about that kind of thing. But it was very clear that, like most people, they just had in their mind the bad CGI, the Rock, Scorpion, and then whenever they saw something that they recognized it CGI as CGI, it was automatically horrible.
Yeah.
And I thought that was such an interesting, like I don't know what to call it, but like how the human brain works or whatever. And I feel like they had the same thing, regarding women in general. Like if you see a woman, you must say something something tits, something something. It's yeah,
Yeah, they kept calling Queen Isis and the Amazons concubines.
yeah. yeah, like the chorus, like sort of running joke or whatever, and it was
Yeah,
really
dude,
funny.
that fucking joke got
Yeah,
legs.
yeah, I laughed so hard. Uh,
Yeah,
uh,
I
P-
think that's the CGI thing to me is sort of interesting because while I would concede to the fact, and this is technically me defending the Scorpion
mm,
King, so like this is a once in a lifetime experience for you viewers here. While I would technically agree with the fact that some things in the Scorpion King are somewhat poor CGI, I would say primarily the approaching sandstorm, and I guess maybe the snake are sort of really standout poor CGI things, or I should say visibly CGI.
mm,
I think stuff like the ants and the arrows and the soul sucking effect, um, those are totally fine to me.
yeah,
I think the ants, while I see them and I know they're CGI, I think they're fine.
yeah. I mean, it's a bit like like there's not. This is also a bit. It's funny how people think about stuff like this, but like, when have you watched a movie and been like, I wonder if this is CGI or not? Like, of course, like the brain knows if something is not real most of the time, you know,
Mm.
and then it's a matter of, oh, does it look real enough or not? And I feel like it's just really, like let's say you watch like oh, I'm gonna watch a super new modern high-end Marvel movie or whatever, and it's like, oh, the CGI looks amazing, but it's just as unreal, it's
Mm.
and when you see CGI ants like in the Scorpion King, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I wonder if these are real ants or not, because they're filming it fucking out of the ant, like
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
it's beside the point,
Mm.
no, it's oh, I was watching Disney's Aladdin, the cartoon one, and I could tell that wasn't real. It's like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, it's a bit weird. I mean, I can see your point, though. I mean, obviously, I think it's super important for a lot of people to not have the CGI experience sort of rob them of their immersion. So I can see the argument. Um,
Maybe I should blanket this a bit, that I am a passionate viewer of movies with extremely poor special effects, which I buy wholesale. They do not affect my enjoyment at all. So
hmm.
opinions on this are, of course, still subjective.
Yeah, I mean, I'd take. It's sort of weird. It's sort of easy to say I'd take good CGI over bad CGI, but good CGI means so many different things. But
Mm,
I think it's interesting that people shit on the CGI or sort of the optical effect work in this movie so much, and it has very little actual CGI,
yeah.
and B, it has a lot of super. I shouldn't say super well done, but maybe I can because people don't notice them. It has a lot of well done optical effects
Mm,
where it sort of meshes um, the the shot with something that isn't there, be that a matte painting or like the shots of Gamora.
yeah.
Gamora
Yeah.
looks like it is there. There are it's okay when it moves across the city down towards the gate. It obviously Gamora isn't there. There's the shots of the camp, rebel camp burning in the background. Stuff like that
Mm,
where obviously it's done well.
yeah. But I don't think they saw those shots. They were too
No,
busy.
I think that's the point though.
Yeah.
They didn't see those shots.
What else did you feel that we gleamed from this experience? And any profound thoughts?
Well, I think there's lots of things in the movie that if I am to divorce myself from how much I dislike these people,
Mm,
um, there is stuff that I hearing someone who, because when we watch it with people, 99% of the time we watch it with them and we just fucking blabber on
Yeah.
the entirety of the experience. So half of the time they don't even really watch the movie. They sort of get some weird halfway point experience. So I thought it was interesting hearing someone who has watched the movie without us talk about it and bring up, I think, a lot of things that I recall bringing up very early on, maybe even the first or second time we watched it. So I don't know if I would call that a positive experience, because it's also an experience that is harkening back to something
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy. So,
Exactly.
but it was interesting, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of things can be interesting. You know, surviving a bungee jump where the cord breaks can be interesting, but you don't want to relive it probably.
Yeah, pretty fucking based to survive a bungee jump cord break, and they bring you up, and you're like, yeah, it was thought provoking.
Yeah, but you know, maybe it broke on the way back up. So
makes you think,
yeah, it's
it broke on the up.
yeah. So you know, it didn't break like at the
Yeah,
full
it
full
breaks
extension.
up and you land on your feet.
Yeah.
On the platform.
No, yeah, you just fall the entire way back down from. So you get to fall twice as well.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I guess you would have time to think then.
Yeah.
How do you feel? How do you feel about having recommended this and having done this?
Well, I don't feel particularly anything about that because, or if you want me to say like, oh, do you feel regret? Do you feel like this? No, absolutely not. Because this during the watch, I said something like that. Wow, maybe this is gonna be like one of the worst watches. Definitely not. I would say there have been worse watches than this in my mind.
I would, however, if I were to rank the watches, the worst watches, if I could categorize them, this is probably the peak worst in some categories. I don't think I've ever groaned as much.
No, you made a lot of previously unheard noises in these lands. So
I think I put this entire mic in my mouth at some point.
Yes.
Of the,
quite. Sometimes it was quite startling. I don't know how we could say this instead. How do you feel? Or an open question. How do you feel about there not being that much left of this entire thing? At this point.
I think it feels kind of all right. I'm generally pretty poor at truly estimating how I'll feel about things unless I'm quite close to it. Like things that are just, a couple of weeks away, if they're not huge things, I tend to not be able to emotionally process them. I need to sort of be a bit closer. And we still have, 3 to go?
Yeah.
So
I guess because I've been thinking a bit, to myself, how if I'm gonna feel like these last 3 now are gonna, I'm gonna feel like they go by quickly, or if they're gonna go, if they're gonna be slower than ever because we're so close to the end. And well, I'm not really sure how I feel about it. But I'd like to feel that this might have been, as bad as it was, like the last truly bad watch, because at this point the ones that are left seem pretty, I don't know how to say it in English, but they seem pretty tacksamma in comparison to watches we've done so far, because what we have left is
one of them does include a straight up normal watch.
Yes, that is part of it. But because what's left now is we're gonna do the ultimate tier list.
Yes,
that's gonna be, and I've already started in my mind to forge certain placings, but also that I'd like to uh, clarify that between us that for this tier list we're gonna have every character. Like and there's probably gonna be characters in it that maybe weren't in the last tier list. And I was actually gonna go through the movie and make.
No, fuck that shit. I think that's bad.
Is it?
I think we can add to it. I'm fine with adding some characters if we feel they have made an impact enough to be considered characters. But I'm way more interested in the comparison of the first tier list and this tier list. Because I don't really give a shit where I'm going to rank every person in the bazaar. That's an insane person's thing.
Well, sure. I didn't really give a shit either. It's it was just a suggestion.
Yeah.
But never mind that.
This is the first watch in which the Discord for primarily, I guess, my channel has been made, but it is also housing people who are watchers of the Sting of Time.
Yes, it's very, very strange. I feel like things have become, even starting this project is a bit is about 1000% too parasocial for me, and I feel like now I am floating through the void of like the parasocial nebula. I have become parasocial prime. It is the things shall get parasocial now since the invention of this Discord.
Yes. It will be linked here as well on every. I don't think I'll go back and add it because I don't care that much. But
who cares?
And I guess there's a possibility that I don't think there's enough time for that much viewer sort of interaction, I guess.
No.
But we will be posting the. I suppose I'll post both the tier lists when they're done, for example, in some sort of Sting of Time channel. But on the sort of topic of how we feel about the end of this project, I don't think we're making any announcements here yet, but I can announce that there will be a continuation of a series on this channel. There is something coming up, and then perhaps in the future there might be more Sting of Time as well. We'll see about that. But there is something coming up after the Sting of Time concludes.
Yes, the future is as of yet unwritten yet written, and that is the destiny of all kingdoms.
Is this the end of the podcast?
No, because you haven't asked me if I would recommend that somebody watch this commentary track.
Would you recommend someone listen to this commentary track with or without the movie?
No, please don't. Definitely not.
Do you want me to ask you again so I don't interrupt you when you say no?
No.